All right, we are going to get started. Welcome to Control the Product Development Lifecycle with Upchain, connecting data, people, and processes. A few things before we get started. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, you can type those into the questions panel on the control panel, and we will address those at the end of the webinar. A little bit about M2 Technologies. M2 Technologies is a consulting firm focused on productivity, improving manufacturing process efficiency, and reducing manufacturing costs. Using generative design, the best-in-class manufacturing and asset management processes, our team of industry experts can help you become more sustainable, more profitable, and more prepared to meet the demands of urbanization in a rapidly changing world. We're committed to helping our clients realize the business benefits of BIM and asset management quickly and economically by facilitating the use of innovative processes and technologies, whether it's streamlining your product design, maximizing asset longevity, or optimizing your processes. Our team is one of the most experienced groups of manufacturing technology consulting professionals. We partner with world leaders such as Autodesk, Panzura, EaglePoint, and Bluebeam to utilize innovative technologies and methodologies to empower sustainable manufacturing and overcome local challenges. To support the industry, we offer a wide range of services, including CAD management, data management, CIO advisory services, and training. I'll be your presenter today. My name is Tristan Gunderson. I'm an applications engineer here at M2 Technologies. I work with our clients to help them optimize their workflows, get the most out of their software, and utilize cutting-edge technology. What are we going to be covering today? We're going to start with an intro to Upchain, and then we're going to look a little more in depth at supplier management within Upchain, the business processes, including requirements, investigation requests, change notices, and quality assurances. Then we'll look at the lifecycle states of items and how to change them. And lastly, the workflows that drive the business processes and how to edit those for Upchain. So what is Upchain? Upchain is a cloud PDM and PLM solution. What this means is you have all the benefits of a product data management and a product lifecycle management system, all in the cloud, where all of your employees, as well as suppliers and other clients, are able to access the information that they need from anywhere. On the product data management side, you can store, share, view, and collaborate on files, all housed within the cloud. You can work with different CAD applications. This includes Inventor, SolidWorks, CATIA, and PTC Creo, all of which have built-in plugins to quickly create new items in Upchain and to make revisions to those items down the road. It also has revision control. So each time you make changes and upload those new changes to Upchain, you're able to look back at past versions and even promote a previous version if necessary. And lastly, it has the check-in and check-out capabilities, which allows you to always know who has the most recent version of a file. And so you're not making changes to outdated versions. And then on the product lifecycle management, it has project and bill of materials management. You can see all of the items associated with the project, as well as the timeline and tasks that need to be completed. You can manage the lifecycle states and workflows, so you're able to see where different products are within their lifecycle, and you're able to edit those workflows to determine the changes to those states. You can create and maintain the project schedule. You have change management to assign tasks and workflows for how items need to change over their lifetime. And lastly, there's the 3D CAD viewer and markup tool built in, so you can view both your 3D models, assemblies, and any 2D drawings and other documents within Upchain and create markups or measure within the tool in order to collaborate and communicate with your other coworkers or clients. Upchain is based around projects. When you create a new project, you're given several different tabs in order to control the different aspects of the project and the included items. We start with the dashboard, which gives us an overview of the progress on the project and upcoming tasks. Next, we have our bill of materials, where we can find all of the items and 3D models and drawings associated with our project. Next is the project management, where we maintain our project schedule and can create and assign tasks to different users. We then have the business processes. This is what we're going to be covering in depth today. This is all of our automated processes that we can build specific workflows for and allow us to communicate internally and externally different processes that need to happen for our items. We then have documents where we store all of our additional documents such as Excel sheets, PDFs, Word documents that we can then attach to our items. And lastly, project settings to edit, view, select properties for our project as we're going. Within Upchain, we have 3 different license types. These will control the level of access that our users have and help us to maintain those different levels of control needed. First is our professional. The professional level has access to all of the different abilities within Upchain. The key options being using the CAD software. The professional license is designed for the engineers on the team. Professional users can also be assigned as admins, which will allow them to edit workflows and other settings in the administration tools. Next is the team member. This is for active users who don't need those engineering tools. It includes all of the other abilities to still, import, export, use those CAD viewers and the other tools. They can't be assigned as an admin, and they can't use the CAD plugins, but they have the ability to do any of the other systems that the professional can use. Lastly is the participant. This is for users who only need limited access. You can see, such as for the file import and export and the CAD viewer, they have some abilities here, the ability to export and to use the viewer, but they don't have access to, say, import or use the markup tools. The participants are users who are going to consume data. They can still download items, but they aren't going to be making changes to those items. So to get started, we're going to look at supplier management. Creating a new supplier in Upchain is really easy. All it takes is going into the admin settings and entering the supplier name. The next step is the option to add a contact email. This is a very important step, as it actually will change the workflow from this point on. By adding a contact email, you're able to send items to your supplier and have them edit the supplier info, such as pricing. However, if you have this email in here, you won't be able to edit a lot of these settings manually. And so dependent on whether you want them to input it or if you're going to find the prices from their website, for instance, you can choose whether to add this email or not. The key feature of suppliers is adding them to items. When you go into an item and you go to the supplier management, you're able to add one or more suppliers to that item. You can then quickly compare pricing. You can select your preferred supplier, and you're able to edit all those pricing info. Here we're going to look at our first supplier. So we have M2 Technologies and Microdesk, both added as suppliers onto this item. M2 Technologies, however, was added without a contact email, and Microdesk was added with a contact email. When we edit the supplier info for M2 Technologies on this item, you can see all of the fields are fillable. We can put in the supplier part number, cost, currency, unit of measure, and add any additional notes. So all this info will be maintained and edited by our internal team. We also have the option here to select preferred, which will set that to the top of our list. And you can see as we move over to this next one, you can see M2 Technologies is now listed as preferred, and the cost is listed up at the top too that we had manually input. However, you'll notice as we're trying to edit the information from Microdesk, we are not able to edit most of the fields as we had added that contact email. So we're actually going to need to use a RFQ workflow, which is a request for quote. And that's going to allow our supplier to enter that information themselves. So speaking of the RFQ, RFQ is part of our business processes. So we have five business processes that are able to be edited and create different ones within using workflows. First, we have our requirements. Requirements are highly customizable using fields and workflows. We can use it to organize and facilitate business requirements and documentation. Requirements work as the general catch-all for any kind of task that has standardized documentation or documents assigned with it. Next, we have our investigation requests. Investigation requests are used to report problems, request more information, and this is where we'll find our RFQs that we can attach to a supplier in order to get that information added. Next, we have our change requests. Change requests are used to initiate any product change orders and to manage lifecycle states. So we can use change requests to release items or to move those items back into a development state to make changes down the road. Next is the change notices. Change notices usually follow our change requests, and they can be used to notify other departments and systems, including an ERP system, that the changes have been made. We also can use it to run automated checks and update previous bill of materials. And then lastly, we have our quality assurance. Our quality assurance works much the same as our requirements, but is more specific to any quality assurance workflows. So I'll start by looking a little more deeply at the fields and workflows for the requirements and quality assurance. As I mentioned earlier, the key difference for these is these editable fields. So by customizing business processes, business process types within the requirements and quality assurance, we're able to create these fillable fields and attach additional documents to our requirements and QAs that are external from the workflow. So when we create a new requirement, for instance, you'll see at the top we're able to select the type. This will assign what that business process type is with those fillable fields and attach any standardized documents to our requirement. And then we also have the option to put in a workflow and all the additional steps or tasks that come along with that. Next, we can look at our investigation requests. The key feature we're going to look at for the investigation request is the supplier RFQ. This is what's going to allow us to communicate with our suppliers and give them access to limited data of our items, as well as allow them to edit those fields. So when we're creating this request, the key is we set the type to supplier RFQ, and this will allow us to assign any suppliers who have a email associated with them that's attached to this item. So I was able to select Microdesk here. I set my workflow to my supplier workflow, and I hit create. When I do this, an email is sent to our supplier with the information included from our investigation request. So we have to be very careful, to make sure we have all of the information needed for this quote included in our notes or other documents attached to this. This is the only information the supplier is going to get unless we send an external email to them with additional details. But we are able to add as much information as we need here so that they know exactly what we're looking for. When we add a supplier initially with an email, they'll get an email that has them set up their account within Upchain. This doesn't require a license. It's considered a viewer license, so they only have access to the items that we give them through the RFQ process. But once they have that account set up, they become active. We can set them to assign them to RFQs, and they'll get this email with the ability to open the RFQ. When they do this, it opens this limited view that shows them the item. They can view it, inspect it in the 3D space. They also have the ability to download the CAD file. So for instance, this was a inventor iPart, and they're able to download that iPart file and open it in their internal systems. They also are able to come over here and view and edit the supplier details associated with this part for them. So here they are able to fill in those missing fields that we weren't able to ourselves, including the part number, the cost, currency, unit of measure, and any additional notes. They're also able to view, edit, and add any documents that was associated with this RFQ. So here they are able to add a quote to this file. They can check out any of these documents to make changes if needed. And then all of this information is then updated to our Upchain where we can view it immediately. Lastly, we're able to give them permission to edit business processes. This is usually good if our workflow requires them to mark that they've completed the quote. By doing this, it gives us additional tab for business processes. They can see the requirements, QA, and investigation requests associated with this item. We can see down at the bottom there, they have access to that RFQ that we've created for them. When they select this, you can see they are given the permission here to either reject the quote or complete the quote. Completing the quote will notify our project manager that the quote has been submitted and move the workflow forward for them to then approve. Next, we'll look at lifecycle states. Lifecycle states determine at what stage our different items are at. Our most common states we're going to see are either development, released, or obsolete. Items can only be edited when they're in a development state. Once they are released, they are no longer editable, and this can be used, to show our internal team or any suppliers or any clients that are active in our Upchain, what the status of these different items are. The status is changeable using change request business processes. We can customize these workflows to determine what those change of statuses are. And so we can do all of that by using these workflows here. So workflows are only accessible by our admin users. They can be edited, or we can create new ones for all of our different business processes, as well as tasks and projects in general. The different nodes within our workflow are broken up into two categories. That's user primitives and system primitives. The user primitives are stopping points where we need to assign a user or a role to that task, and then they will have the option to either select that the task has been completed or make a decision. So these user primitives are going to be our only stopping points in the workflow where a user needs to manually progress it. The rest are our system primitives, which are our automated operations. This starts with our start, goes to our stop, which will mark the start and stopping point of our workflow. So those are always required within our workflow. Beyond that, we have the option to have system decisions based on and, or, nor, or, and criteria based on different properties of our items. We also can create automated reports, send email notifications, or update the status of our workflow or items. While these primitives are usually the same, basically within the different workflows, their settings and customizability is actually different depending on what system we are working in. For instance, the system primitive has different abilities in a change request versus an investigation request. We're able to build out these workflows by linking the different primitives together and editing their settings within. Here we're actually looking at a change request workflow. We can see as we begin, it automatically updates the workflow status, and it's updating the item status. It then moves to a task. So this is going to require a user to manually progress the workflow from there. So by editing the item status to development, it allows us to make changes and then re-release the item once those changes have been completed. We're going to look a little closer at this update. So for most of our workflows, when we create an update, the only option we are given is to update the work order status. This will allow us to change the work order status from in progress to completed, as well as change the percentage associated with it. That is done there. However, since we're working on a change request, we do have two additional options for our value, which is item maturity update, which is an additional property associated with our lifecycle, or what we're going to look at here is our item status update. So when we change the item status to update, we're actually able to change that lifecycle state of our items associated with this change request. So we can set them to released, we can set them to obsolete, or anywhere in between. What we want to do with this workflow, however, is set them to development so they're back to an editable state. Next, we have our system operation. So we have a list here of different tasks that are only selectable within our change request. The system options are different within our different workflows. But the key here is we have this system option just to release those items associated with our workflow. Next, we're looking at an investigation request. This is actually the supplier workflow that we went through earlier. So the first thing I'll point out is you'll notice right at the beginning of this workflow is an email notification. So that is the email that was sent out to our supplier that we looked at earlier. So you can see with this, we have our email notification, which then updates the workflow status to work in progress, and then it comes to a decision. So that was the decision that was given to our supplier to either say that quote was completed or reject the quote. So you can see how these workflows allow us to change that progression of our different business processes and also include any kind of system updates or other operations we want between those decisions. Lastly, we're just going to talk a little bit about connectivity. The key to Upchain is the connectivity. It has the benefit of being a PDM and a PLM system, all located in the cloud, so your data is all linked and accessible from anywhere. It's bill of materials and item-centric, so any documents, tasks, suppliers, or any other item within Upchain can all be linked specifically to your models, to each individual part or to assemblies. And so everything can be found quickly and efficiently from one place. And lastly, you're able to conduct all of these operations from almost any place within Upchain. You can see on the side here, when we select an item, we're able to right off the bat, create any of those business processes. We can go to the viewer. We can add any other documents that we want linked. We can view any tasks associated with it, and we're able to use all of that all from one place with all of our data staying connected. All right, thank you for joining. We're going to open this up to any questions. Again, if you have a question, you can just type it into the questions tab on the control panel. And we don't have any yet, but we're going to just give it a couple minutes here, see if anyone has any questions before we wrap up. All right, I am not seeing any questions. So if you do think of anything later on, you can always contact us. You can look at our website, call us on our main line, or contact sales support at m2t.com, or contact your sales associate. Thank you for attending.